What's up, everybody? Welcome to my channel. I'm CrystalDivineQueen, and this is my Indigenous lifestyle. If you have read the title of this video, you know that I'm going to be discussing if home birth is illegal. So without any further ado, let's get into this video, honey, because I got some stuff to tell y'all. Now, prior to this research for this video, my research on whether or not home birth was legal was very limited. And that's because I am a person who knows that nobody has authority or autonomy over my body. So if I want to birth my baby at home, I can birth my baby at home. And just being the type of person that I am too, you know, if I were to have another birth, I would definitely have a home birth. And I just wouldn't even concern myself with whether or not it was legal or not. But everyone is not a revolutionary like me. And there is reason to be cautious about having a home birth depending on where you stay, mainly depending on the type of home birth you have. Also, aside from every woman not being like me, I am also a birth worker. So all of my clients may not be like me. They may have some fears, or they just may have some questions. And it's just important for me to have the answers and know these things, especially if I am going to be such a huge supporter of home birth experiences. This is a very sensitive subject, and I just wanted to make a video putting out the facts so we can dismantle the fear, because we're only afraid of the things that are unknown. So let's go ahead, nip all that myth in the bud, and get to the facts. Is home birth illegal? Okay, it depends. It depends. And it depends on three things. Number one, there aren't any laws specifically outlawing unassisted home births in America. However, there are some states that have laws regulating home births with home birth midwives. All right. So first off, no laws for unassisted home births. There's no law. Surprising? No. As I said earlier, nobody can dictate what you do with your body. But there are also no laws protecting your rights to birth at home unassisted. So being that there isn't any law against it or to protect it, it's like a gray area. I know you're probably thinking like, okay, now you're contradicting yourself, Crystal. How is it not illegal, but there could be legal ramifications? So some states have laws or regulations that protect children from inadequate medical care. And in some states, you can be held accountable if you don't seek medical assistance immediately after the unassisted home birth. That right there is a future video. But right now, we're just going to focus on whether or not it's illegal. I said it depends. And this is one of the three things. So bottom line, an unassisted home birth, planned or unplanned, with no medical professional is not illegal. However, depending on where you live, there are other laws that regulate children receiving adequate medical care, and also you getting medical care immediately after your home birth experience. And because an unassisted home birth, planned or unplanned without a medical professional, is not illegal, this is why earlier I said I never really cared to look into whether or not it was illegal or not, because I know nobody has authority or autonomy over my body except for me. And they know it too. And that's why there's no law that, you know, outlaws being able to have your baby at home by yourself. Also, I know that laws are just contracts, and if there is no mutual agreement between two parties, then there is no law. But that's tapping into sovereignty, and that is something for a future video. If you guys want me to get into the sovereign side of birth, please drop sovereign birth in the comment section, and I will gladly create content for that. Now, let's go to the second part of the statement. For the first reason, it depends on whether or not home birth is illegal. However, there are some states that have laws regulating home births with midwives. So the only reason they are able to regulate a home birth with a midwife is because they regulate how midwives operate. This is all due to the legislation of midwifery. And legislation to regulate midwifery is sometimes referred to as licensure, okay? So when a midwife goes to the board and gets licensed, they are now regulated by people who created the laws against home birth with a midwife. And once midwifery became regulated, they were able to set up a criteria and regulate how midwives do their work. And this is why some states say it is legal to have a home birth with a midwife and others say it is not. So bottom line, if you want to have a home birth with a midwife, number one, check the state that you live in and find out if that is legal. Because if it's not, then you and the midwife can be held accountable. Now, there are midwives who are not certified or regulated by them. And depending on where you stay, what state you are in, they do have laws against what they like to call traditional midwives, direct entry midwives, okay? So do your research on that. If you have a midwife who is a traditional midwife, have a conversation with her and find out how she works. And also do your research and find out how your state operates for direct entry midwives. Because some states only allow for you to have a home birth with a certified nursing midwife or certified professional midwife. And also, don't get discouraged, okay? The system is set up the way it's set up so that it isn't easy to have a home birth with a certified midwife. Why? Because they want you in the hospital. Number two, the second thing that it depends on. Each state varies. Do your research. Kind of what I just said at the end of number one. Let me elaborate a little bit more on why you need to do your research and what type of things you need to be looking for when you do your research. Now, you want to find out the regulations in your state pertaining to midwifery so you can know if it's illegal or legal or what type of midwife you have to have in order for it to be legal. If it is not an option for you in the state you are in, then I would highly recommend that you consider to prepare for an unassisted birth experience. It's not as scary as the words sound, and I have a lot of videos already on my channel to walk you through having an unassisted birth experience. But don't just rely on my videos. Do a lot of research. Find a lot of videos on YouTube. Women who have done it share their stories. The Free Birth Society is a great resource off the top of my head that I can think of, where you can hear so many different women talk about their unassisted birth experience. Some of them are even first-time mothers, birthing women, and having this unassisted home birth experience. So don't get scared, just research. Also, you want to research regulations and requirements for OBGYN and pediatricians to provide medical care. Why? Because you're having your birth at home instead of in a hospital. And some OBGYNs and pediatricians may not want to accept your baby because they didn't deliver the baby personally, or they're not affiliated with the OBGYN that delivered the baby. Also, if you plan to obtain documents of registration of your baby so that they can have a birth certificate or a social security number, research citizenship. Citizenship is different or bigger than state regulations, but sometimes the two intertwine. Example, some states require for the baby to be taken to a midwife or a doctor after birth to get their birth certificate. Other states don't require you to go through the doctor at all. You can just go to their local office of birth registry and get that information, the birth certificate that way, or go to the Social Security office and apply and get the number that way. I encourage you to research citizenship no matter what type of birth experience you want to have, whether it's in a hospital or at home, especially if it's going to be a natural birth in a hospital. Research these type of things, you guys. Don't just go in blindly. And lastly, I'm going to put some links in the description box below about breaking down exactly what a certified nurse midwife is, a certified professional midwife is, a certified midwife, and the traditional midwife, which they like to call them direct entry midwives. And I'm also going to link in the description box below a website where you can find out your state, what they regulate as far as being legal or not illegal when it comes to having a home birth. And it's going to have all the states in there. So if you're just curious, you can find out. Last thing that it depends on, number 3. This might sound a little similar, but it's not. Know the legality of the state requirements. I kind of mentioned this a little bit in the introduction of this video. I want you to make sure that you know that the legality of state requirements are questionable for unassisted births. Remember how I said it's kind of a gray area because there is no law against an unassisted home birth, but there also isn't a law to protect you against a home birth? Find out the legalities. And I want you to find this out because sometimes birth is unpredictable. And sometimes you can have an unassisted home birth and it not be planned, okay? It's not always a planned thing. There's so many videos of women giving birth in their car on the way to the hospital. Or, oop, the baby came before we can get out the door. Like, sometimes that happens. And this is why I want you to make sure that you know the legalities of your state that you're going to be birthing in, especially if you're going to be registering your child. Must always remember, things are regulated by the government pertaining to birth for a reason, okay? They want to keep track of every single human being born, okay? This is why they want you to register these type of things. They also do not want us to be sovereign. So they have normalized having a baby in a hospital and signing the paperwork for a birth certificate and applying for a social security number before you leave the hospital, before you even have time to think about it. Why am I registering my baby like I register a car? They don't even want to give you a chance to think about that. They don't want you to be sovereign, okay? And there's a reason why the government regulates these things. Know the legalities, because depending on how you go about having your home birth experience, you can easily find yourself in a situation where you are dealing with a legal kidnapping, or you may find yourself being charged, or both. That is a whole nother video. Like I said, if y'all want me to get into the sovereign side of birth, please comment below sovereign birth and I will start creating content for you guys ASAP, okay? But know the legalities. Just look into that gray area, okay? It's a gray area because there isn't going to be anything that says if you have your baby unassisted and it's planned this, that, and the third. You have to ask these questions. You have to ask these questions, okay? Because there's a reason why it's a gray area. They can manipulate things when things aren't in black and white, okay? So, is home birth illegal? No, it is not. However, if you want to have birth with a midwife that is certified or licensed, then you might be in a situation where your home birth is going to be illegal depending on the state that you live in. Okay, so click the link in the description box below to find out if your state has a law against having a home birth with a particular midwife. If you are going to have an unassisted birth experience at home with no medical professional, do your research. Research everything about unassisted birth, about OBGYNs for your postpartum care, pediatricians, for your baby's medical care, birth certificates, social security numbers, what's the process for your state because it varies, and citizenship, and also make sure that you know the legalities, okay? Don't get caught up in the gray area. Ask the questions that are in black and white, and you'll be fine. So thank you guys so much for tuning into my video. I hope that it clarified whether or not home birth is illegal or legal. If you made it all the way to the end, you better like this video, okay? Like this video. Subscribe to the channel if you're not subscribed. And I will see you guys on the next video. Peace.